If you're gaining weight with intermittent fasting, there's some really common mistakes that I've seen that can lead to weight gain and that are generally pretty easy to remedy. Today I'm sharing those 5 really common mistakes that you might be making that could be causing the weight gain in today's video. Alright guys, if you're new to my channel and you don't know who I am, my name's Autumn and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's nutrition human performance. On my channel, I'm typically talking about the science-backed and holistic methods that you can use in order to achieve your wellness dreams. So if you have a wellness goal in mind, make sure you subscribe. Okay, so ultimately a lot of these mistakes come down to what you're eating, not necessarily when you're doing it. Often I see that people are really focused on exactly when to fast, when to get that down right for their eating window, but completely ignore what they're eating during their actual eating window. And although intermittent fasting has a lot of really great benefits on its own, what you're eating during window can have an equally big impact. So let's jump into the first one, and that's that you're still eating refined carbohydrates or refined sugars. Wheat tortillas, bread, crackers, chips, gluten-free bread alternatives, or healthy desserts. All of these are ultimately really refined products. Maybe they're taken from a good source initially, but they ultimately are really refined, make it so that it's super easy for your body to break down, which causes you to get that big spike in blood glucose levels and big spike of insulin, our storing hormone. Now, looking at intermittent fasting, one of the main perks of why it is so great at helping your body to tap into fat burning mechanisms is because it naturally allows that break between meals of having a fasting period where your insulin level can actually dip back down. This allows your body to actually turn on what's called lipolysis, which is fat burning, so that you can actually use your own fat source as a fuel. But if during your window you're just eating consistently sources of some type of refined carbohydrate or refined sugar source, those have some of the biggest impacts on our insulin levels within our body, which means it's really going to push your body into that storing mode and not allow your body to naturally tap into fat burning. Not to mention these types of foods can typically trigger more cravings and cause your body to want to eat more of them. So it's really cyclical and it's really easy to just keep eating more of these foods if you are already eating them. And most of these foods really can be removed without requiring a swap. Great example would be something like the tortilla chips, but you can even find some really great bread alternatives too. Some of my favorites include making your own bread, such as a flaxseed bread, or you can use different pre-made options like the coconut wrapped Nuka, which is one of my favorites. These aren't going to have as much of an impact on your insulin levels, which means it'll allow your body to naturally bring those insulin levels back down faster after that meal. Okay, number 2, you're adding some type of sugar or sweetener to your coffee or tea. And sugar sweetened drinks are one of the leading causes of obesity in the US. And this makes sense if you think about the delivery system of how we're actually getting these sugars. I mean, it's pretty much just sugar that's dissolved in some type of liquid. There's not really a barrier to entry. There's no fiber to make it harder for your body to access it. There's no fat or protein to slow the release of those sugars, which means that you're going to be getting a lot of those sugars absorbed very quickly. And these added sugars in the various drinks like vanilla lattes or of course soda are much more condensed. You're going to get a lot more of it than you would from any natural source of sugar like with fruit. And another big offender to this category of sweetened drinks are those non-nutritive sweeteners. And that just means calorie free, so this could range from things like stevia and monk fruit to artificial sweeteners. Now, science on this is a little 50-50, but there does seem to be some evidence that there are some people who still have an insulin response even though there's no type of actual sugar being digested. So if you find that you aren't having the traditional type of sugar sweetened drinks, but maybe you're adding some stevia or monk fruit or artificial sweetener into your coffee or into your waters, then this is one area you can play around with on reducing or removing to see if that helps you break through a plateau. And a few months ago, I did more of a deep dive on the physiology or how this actually happens, on why your body can get this insulin response from something even like stevia. You can check it out with this video right here. Third mistake is that you're eating often throughout your eating window. Ultimately, this might be snacking or grazing, and really you're never achieving that satiety level because you really can't achieve that satiety level if you're eating often throughout the day. If we can really get that hormonal sense of satiety where we activate the peptide YY, activate the CCK, we should be able to feel full and satisfied for at least 3 hours. If you find that you're eating every couple of hours or every hour, then you're really never achieving satiety. So it's kind of like a twofer effect here where it's really important to make sure that you're eating until satiated, but also that you're getting some gaps between meals. Doesn't mean you have to get exactly 3 hours or exactly 4 hours, but you just don't want to be having these snacks between your meals. Because when you don't snack between these meals, even within your eating window, you're further enhancing that decreased insulin response in between your meals, just the same way that you would with your fasting period. So by sticking to a true meal structure, so whether it be 3 meals or 2 meals, you're allowing those natural breaks between meals and allowing insulin to actually dip back down as well. Plus, the only way to really achieve this is to make sure that you're eating foods that are highly satiating, which also just so happen to be some of the best foods for achieving a weight loss goal. One of my favorite ways to do this is with one of my smoothies or with one of my chia brekkie bowls. In fact, you can check out my favorite fat burning smoothie recipe right here. All right, the fourth mistake is that you're not getting enough protein. And this is usually if you're only eating 1 or 2 meals during that eating window. So we just talked about snacking and how that's definitely not something that's ideal because it'll raise insulin levels. But if you are on that other side of the spectrum where you're having really just 2 or 1 meals per day, you might run the risk of not being able to get enough protein for your body's needs. Protein, especially from animal-based sources, is highly satiating because it does cause that release of the hormonal sense of satiety, peptide YY. So if you're really only having 1 or 2 meals per day, it could be a really difficult achievement to get in all of your protein needs with just 1 or 2 of those meals. And if you're not getting enough at those meals, this might be increasing hunger during your fasting period, or it could be causing muscle loss because you aren't getting the amino acids necessary to repair your muscles. So if you find that you're not really getting enough protein for your needs, this is where it might be a good idea to switch to a 3-meal structure if you haven't already. The 5th mistake is that you're eating these healthy junk food items. These are all over the shelves in all of the health food stores. A common one I've seen lately, which I actually did a full breakdown video on, are those cauliflower types of chips or crackers. Now, what a lot of these different types of health food companies will typically do is they'll take a food that inherently has a lot of really great benefits. So things like cauliflower or kale or sweet potato, and they'll highly refine it to where you lose a lot of the benefits, you lose a lot of the fiber that actually makes it a good slow release type of carbohydrate, and you end up getting a product that's pretty similar in its impact as the original form that it's trying to replicate. Another sneaky thing that a lot of these type of healthier health foods will do is that they'll really advertise a certain type of ingredient that you want to be getting more of. So something like cauliflower. And it'll make it appear that that's the main ingredient or that's the main thing that these different types of products are made out of. But when you flip it over and you actually look at the ingredients, typically that food that they're advertising is not even the first or second main ingredient. Usually it's the third or lower. And typically there's some type of really high starch base, whether it be potato starch or cassava flour, and that's going to make up the bulk of whatever that health food is. And I don't mean to bash on these different types of health food products, because some of them certainly are going to be better than the original product. But I also don't want you to be deceived into thinking that these are still the types of foods that will support your wellness or weight loss goals if eaten on the daily. Had on the occasion? Of course, fantastic. They're a great option to incorporate, especially if they are using high quality sources of each ingredient. But eaten consistently likely is not going to be supportive of your wellness or weight loss goals. And if you think that you aren't getting enough protein during your intermittent fasting eating window, I highly recommend you check out this video next where I break down common signs of this. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love the science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. I come out with new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.